A language itself is nothing but words. Some of them have a specific meaning for specific cultures. In order to understand better native speakers, it's best to first understand their culture. It also will help you understand the conversation to the fullest. If your friend or colleague will describe the potluck dinner they went to last night or the ball drop they don't want to miss this year, wouldn't it be better to understand what they are talking about? I have prepared for you 10 terms related to American culture that deserve your attention. I have divided the lesson into 2 videos, so you will have more time to process all the information, and trust me, there's lots of it. Now, I have tried to find the meaning and the origin for every term. Also, I will really appreciate if you will hit that like button so more people can see the video. If you want, you can subscribe as well. I'll be extremely grateful and try to make more interesting videos for you in the future. We will begin with the term the ball drop. The ball drop. This year, I am going to see the ball drop on Times Square. If you hear this from your American friend, here's what it means. Every year, there is a tradition for people to gather on the brightly lit Times Square in New York. When the clock starts the countdown of the last minute of the year, a big, dazzling metallic ball appears on the roof of one Times Square. It starts descending down a special flagpole. At the bottom of the pole appear big numbers followed by fireworks and happy cheers, and this shows everyone that the new year has come. This ball is a prominent part of the New Year's Eve celebration in New York and is commonly described as the ball drop. If you ever wondered who and why came with this idea, here's the answer. The owner of the New York Times, Adolph Ox, wanted to promote the One Times building as the new headquarters of the Times. The ball later turned into a big metallic apple to support the New York status as the Big Apple. It is a stunning and exciting vision. Nevertheless, the apple didn't descend a few times due to the technical issues. But hey, it happens to the best of us. From here, it makes sense to present the next term, the Big Apple, and tell you where it came from. We are all familiar with the fact that the Big Apple is the second name of New York. Call it a nickname if you wish.
They call New York the Big Apple.
The Big Apple itself.
The Big Apple.
The Big Apple.
Is it because of the size of the state? Not really. Do they grow lots of apples in New York? Actually, yes. New York State is America's top apple grower after the state of Washington. Funny enough, it has nothing to do with the name. In fact, the Big Apple moniker first gained popularity in connection to horse racing.
Northern dancer can now try to sweep the Triple Crown.
Around 1920, New York City newspaper reporter John Fitzgerald heard African American stable hands in New Orleans say they were going to the Big Apple, a reference to the New York City, whose racetracks were considered big-time venues. Fitzgerald soon began making mentions of the Big Apple in his newspaper columns. In the 1930s, the jazz musicians adopted the term to indicate that the New York City was the home to the big league music clubs. The mantra of show business at the time was, "There are many apples on the tree, but there is only one Big Apple, New York." Long story short, the reporter heard someone calling New York a Big Apple because their horse race tracks were pretty awesome. He loved the name, so loved the people that saw the name in the paper, so loved the musicians that started using it later in their songs, the jazz musicians. And all of us, we know that New York is the Big Apple from the t-shirts. Next term we are going to talk about is called a speakeasy. Speakeasy. You might think that the name speaks for itself. It's a place where you have to speak easy or speak quietly, and you will be completely right. A speakeasy is what we called a secret bar. During the years of 1920 to 1932, the US government didn't allow people to produce or distribute alcohol. You were allowed to consume it, but you couldn't make it or buy it. So creative entrepreneurs opened secret bars in all kinds of random places, such as candy shops, drugstores, and many others. These were the places you were supposed to speak easy about, meaning that tell only the ones you really trust and speak quietly inside the bar so you wouldn't alert the neighbors or the police officers. Cocktail lovers might be interested in the fact that these very establishment, of course. Cocktail lovers might be interested in the fact that these very establishments came up with gin Ricky, old-fashioned, and bee's knees, not monkey's knees, and many other cocktails. They were created as to mask the unpleasant flavor of homemade booze. And booze is another word for alcohol. The next term we are going to talk about is extremely important, so please pay extra attention to me right now because you must know about Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl is an enormously popular sporting event which is held every year to determine the National Football League champion. I'm talking about American football right here. Millions and millions of fans gather in front of the television every year on a Sunday in February or January to celebrate this de facto national holiday. It is not only the game everyone is excited to see. Every year there's an elaborate halftime show performed by the leading musicians such as Beyoncé, J-Lo, Eminem, Katy Perry, and many others. A significant part of the show are the TV commercials that companies create specifically for the Super Bowl.
Mike, come on!
Cool.
It all started in the 1960s when a group of businessmen wanted to own football franchises, but they were denied by the NFL, National Football League. So they created the AFL, American Football League. For many years, these leagues were competing against each other for fan, players, and support. It all changes in 1966 when the owners of the two leagues had an agreement to merge those two leagues till the end of the 1970s. This meant that they were supposed to compete with each other, not against each other. Sounds pretty good to me. And first, the championship was called AFL-NFL Championship, which is a little long, let's be fair. So the token Super Bowl was proposed and accepted in the 1969 game. The next name I am going to mention is something you have heard somewhere for sure. It's the Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is a region in Northern California. Located in the southern part of the San Francisco Bay Area, it corresponds roughly to the geographical Santa Clara Valley. The Industrial Revolution of the 19th century had produced a generation of incredibly wealthy business tycoons from New York to California, and the Santa Clara Valley was home to one such tycoon, Leland Stanford. Leland Stanford is one of the fathers of the Silicon Valley. Stanford's only son, Leland Stanford Jr., was sent to Europe for a proper education. There, unfortunately, he contracted a typhoid fever and died at the age of 15. Distraught, Stanford Sr. founded a university in 1891 on a ranch he owned in the valley in Palo Alto in his son's memory. He died 2 years later. Silicon Valley grew up mostly because of Frederick Terman, the legendary dean of Stanford Engineering School during 1940s and 1950s. He created that tradition of Stanford graduates opening their own companies in the valley after the graduation. The first and the most significant company to do so was Hewlett-Packard, founded by two Stanford graduates, William Hewlett and David Packard, who Terman encouraged to partner together. They took his advice and became the original garage startup in 1939, making electrical test equipment. We know them mostly for their laptops and computers. How about the name, would you ask? The Silicon Valley name? Well, let me tell you about it. Well, Silicon Valley is called so because of the sand. If more specific, it's because of the silica sand, which is used for production of CPU, Central Processing Units, which are computer chips. Many companies manufacturing computer chips like Intel were either operating or headquartered throughout the region, now you know as Silicon Valley. As with most technology terms, it's evolved and stuck. Now, this is the end of the first lesson out of 2 about the terms related to American culture. Next one will be slightly easier. I promise it will be less geography and more fun. I will see you in the next one.